the NBA show. I'm your host, Katherine Niker. We are officially live here on the Barn Burner Network. We are broadcasting here every Friday at 9 p.m. Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode. I have a guest, Alan Shane Lewis, joining us. We are having some technical difficulties, so I might be riding this show entirely solo, but that is just the Zoom life that we live in now, right? This week, okay, this is what we normally do on the show. We have NBA top stories, then we have our Raptors Homer moment. Yes, I consider that a market correction for all the mainstream NBA news that are biased for the Celtics. So then we do a Raptors Homer moment, and then we close out the show with a Hot Girl Summer Nick Nurse highlight of the week. However, today is a very special day because at 6 p.m., free agency went live. And like I said, we're recording this at 9 p.m. on Friday. And so we might have a ton of breaking news on the air as it happens. So things are going to be a bit more fluid today. If there's time, we'll do a bit of recapping the NBA draft and get into some other big news. I actually want to start this week with the biggest NBA story because shockingly enough, it wasn't free agency or the draft. It was Klay Thompson tearing his Achilles during a practice on Wednesday. They were reporting it was a lower foot injury. And then on Thursday, they confirmed it was, in fact, his Achilles. He will miss yet another entire NBA season. And this is absolutely devastating. There's just no other way to slice it. Whether you're a Golden State Warriors fan or not, this is easily the worst thing that could happen to him. Well, I mean, from a basketball professional perspective, obviously. And I just think, like, I don't know what it is with the way the story has been reported. It almost felt like a death in a weird way, just the way people have been speaking about it and the way I guess my own heart sank for this team and the way everybody else's did, because I think it's like the real absolute last straw end of an era in a way, because when Kevin Durant left last year, we all thought, okay, the Warriors are going to take a year off and then they're going to find a way to come back and they're going to be the classic 2015, 2016 Warriors again, and they're going to figure it out and they're going to be championship contenders again. And now it's like, oh, they're not championship contenders again, and it's looking extremely unlikely that they ever will be again in this era. And I've heard different stories. Like, some people want them to tank, some people definitely don't want them to tank. I mean, I am absolutely not a believer in tanking at all. I don't believe in it. I don't believe it creates a winning culture. I use the 76ers as an example for that. Um, I just don't believe in it. I think what the Golden State Warriors have, they could very much be like the San Antonio Spurs. And I believe that's what they've been trying to model themselves after all of these years. I think they could make a few key trades. I don't think they'll win it all this year, but I think in the next coming years, they can find a way to be relevant again, just the same way the San Antonio Spurs did when they had Kawhi Leonard. And I think that's absolutely the way they should be looking. They should be looking to improve their depth. And I just feel like you absolutely cannot give up when you have two of the greatest NBA shooters of all time. Of all time. So I don't know. That's where I stand on this. I've heard a lot of the tanking theories because a lot of people are like, well, this is a good year to tank because we're not having NBA fans in audiences, at least not at a large capacity. I think, look, I mean, I hope you're watching from the US, but I think it's kind of crazy to have fans in stadiums right now. We're in a second wave worldwide. Things are getting worse. Please wear a mask. I just think it's a bad idea, but everybody's trying to make money and move forward with their lives. I get it, but I don't know. Even with the no audience or like fans in stadiums thing, I still don't believe in tanking. I still don't. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree, if you disagree. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at it's me underscore Catherine. Always love to know your thoughts. Let's get into some free agency breaking news right now. We have Dwight Howard going to the Philadelphia 76ers. What? I did not see that coming at all. At all. I mean, honestly, so much has happened in basketball and just in the world that I forgot Dwight Howard was even a free agent. You know what I mean? I was just like, "Wait, what? Dwight Howard's a free agent? When did that happen?" Um but I do think this is actually a great move for the 76ers. He's going to be a backup center to Joel Embiid. They are getting deeper. Um Daryl Morey earlier this week traded for Seth Curry and Danny Green, got rid of that massive Al Horford contract, sent that to OKC. Danny Green was an Oklahoma City player for I think a total of like 36 hours. Like he was traded from the Lakers to Oklahoma City and then immediately after traded to the 76ers. And that's really significant because, for an entire year, everybody was going on and on and on about how the 76ers don't work, about how Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons can't play together. And that is absolutely ridiculous. It's like any team, you just got to build around them correctly. And the 76ers weren't doing that. So then they got, rid of their president. They brought in Daryl Morey from Houston. He said he wanted to spend time with his family. And after 2 weeks of spending time with his family, he decided, okay, I can go across the country now and join the Philadelphia 76ers and is absolutely handling things. He is solving their problems like mm, brilliantly. What they lost all their outside shooting the year before when they lost Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick. And now they've brought in Seth Curry and Danny Green, who are not those two guys at all in terms of like, I guess their athleticism, I would say. Like, I think Jimmy Butler's on another level for sure, but they have solved the outside shooting problem. So now they're not going to spend an entire year trying to make Ben Simmons somebody he's not, for example. So I think that was all really great. And now they've got Dwight Howard, which again, completely forgot. He's a free agent. So good for him. The Sixers are really giving the Brooklyn Nets a run for their money and the Milwaukee Bucks for being the favorite in the East this year. And I guess we got to add the Celtics and the Heat in that conversation. Like suddenly the East, like literally 2 weeks ago, the Eastern Conference was so weak. It was just like a joke. Honestly, it was a joke. Like every year, I'm like, we need to abolish the conferences because the East is just ridiculously weak. But now the East is stronger. The East is legitimately an actual conference again. So that's great. Um, Danilo Gallinari is going to the Hawks. I like that the Hawks are making moves. Um, I mean, obviously, he is not like a complete game changing player that he himself could, you know, get this team to the playoffs, but the Hawks are slowly making moves to make a run for the Eastern Conference playoffs. We'll see. A lot of people are just like, who cares about the Hawks? Trae Young's never going to play defense no matter what. Um Sorry, I'm just checking in to see if I can get our guest on the show. Um 1 second. Okay. Still waiting for an update on that. We'll see. I mean, like I said, everybody's saying that Trae Young will never play defense. That might be true. I am trying to remain hopeful. I am. People might call me naive or ridiculous on that, but again, I'm just saying hopeful. I'm just because A, he's young, B, he hasn't been on a winning team, and he's had to score at the high volumes he's been scoring just for the team to have a chance. Like, I think once they're able to find a way to take some of the offensive pressure off of him, um, then he might be able to actually focus on defense. Like, I feel like he hasn't even had the chance to focus on defense yet. So we'll see. But I like that the Hawks are making moves. As well, the Detroit Pistons have signed free agents. And as a Canadian and as a Toronto Raptors biased person, the idea that the Detroit Pistons could sign anybody makes me sick. It just makes me absolutely sick because everybody complains that people don't want to come to Toronto because of the weather. And I'm like, hello, Detroit's cold. Detroit is absolutely cold. Detroit is just as cold as Toronto. Boston's cold. New York is cold. Chicago's cold. But nobody says that those teams can't sign free agents. But when it comes to Toronto, oh, it's so cold. It's like the same thing. Oh my god. But I will tell you who they signed. Just give me a sec. As I pull it up, they signed Josh Jackson. Um and they also signed I'm just going through my rundown here. Jaleel Okafor. And I'm just like, wow, they just keep signing bigs, which is like cool, I guess. I mean, I feel like they're signing bigs as if, oh, and they also signed Mason Plumlee. Like they're signing bigs like it's 1999. So I don't really know what's going on with Detroit on that. Again, if there are any diehard Detroit Piston fans tuning in, tweet me, message me at it's me underscore Catherine. Let me know what the hell the Detroit Pistons are thinking because I don't know why they just signed two forwards and a center. I just don't know. I don't know what the plan is here. Um, like I said, I mean, I am not pro tanking at all, but I am pro rebuilding. And the Detroit Pistons attempted this, cute experiment with Blake Griffin. It did not work out. Apparently, allegedly, Blake Griffin is like in great shape right now. But we haven't seen the guy in like a year and a half or more. I mean, they were out in the first round of the 2019 playoffs, and we basically haven't seen Blake Griffin since. So it's like, okay, if he's completely 100% healthy, that's great. But he's also like in his 30s now. Was the kind of player that was extremely, hard on his knees. Like he's the kind of player where it's like, it's hard to age well as that guy, and he's just been prone to injuries for like a very good chunk of his career. And I mean, I'm absolutely rooting for Blake Griffin to make a comeback, but he's not going to be the all-star he once was. So it's like now you've got all these forwards and centers that are essentially role players, and I don't really know where you're going with that. And I don't know where these guys individually are going with that. I mean, I'm just looking at tweets right now as things become available. So I don't have the finances in front of me. I don't know if these guys signed there because Detroit was just willing to offer them the most or if they have a plan. I don't have that information in front of me as we are live on the air right now. Um, but just looking at these tweets, I'm not piecing together what their plan is. But I do find it interesting. Um, Drew Eubanks resigns to San Antonio Spurs. Again, why? They're going nowhere. And I hope you get paid. Wes Matthews signed with the LA Lakers. I think this is a good move. Um, the Lakers did lose Danny Green, and it's been reported that Rajon Rondo is moving or is opting to leave the Lakers, but we don't know where he's leaving just yet. But I like that from the Lakers perspective because those guys are in their mid 30s, and that team, although they did very well, I mean they won this year, it's like I can't see that exact team repeating just because of age and how much they had to rely on defense. I mean, LeBron James and Anthony Davis were responsible for so much of that team's offense. I mean, they have to have, I guess what I'm saying is they have to have a combination of more offense, but without losing their perimeter defense. Because that was the thing with Danny Green. Like when the Lakers were literally, the Lakers fans literally created change.org petitions. Change.org petitions. Like 2020 doesn't have enough causes. Like there isn't enough shit going on in the world. But Lakers fans, leave it to them to create a change.org petition to get rid of Danny Green because he was missing shots. And look, he was missing shots. But I mean, change.org petition is next level. I would say, like, Lakers fans maybe chill a bit. No, you've had a hard year, but come on. But I think what gets missed in all of that is that Danny Green is a phenomenal defender. And that's why he stays on the court. And that's why he doesn't get taken out of the starting lineup. And it happened, the exact same thing happened with the Raptors the previous year. Danny Green struggled for 2.5 series. He struggled for the entire semifinals and he struggled for the entire conference finals and he struggled for the first, I want to say, 2 games of the NBA finals. And then I believe it was game 3 that he finally broke out and had a good offensive game. And it was like, wow, kudos to Nick Nurse for always believing in Danny Green. But what really kept him in all those games was his defense. And then when the Lakers signed him, I wasn't that disappointed because I was like, I'm good having heart attacks. Like, I don't need any more like heart attacks every time Danny Green like shoots the ball and misses. Cause it's like he's known as a 3-point specialist, but every time he does this, you're just like, like just hoping. You're just like, is he actually gonna hit it? Is he actually gonna make it? And then he doesn't, and then you're just like, oh, you know. And I went through that. I really went through that. And so even when these Lakers fans were creating that change.org bullshit, I was like, look, I would never create a petition about it, but I understand the frustration. But for some reason, even though he has struggled for 2 entire playoff series in a row, two seasons in a row, he still has a reputation for being a great player because he's actually won rings despite struggling offensively because that's how good his defense is. So I don't know. I mean, I have a feeling the Philly fans are going to give this guy a hard time. Like, if the Lakers fans did a change.org petition, I don't even know what the Philadelphia 76er fans are really capable of. So we'll see. Wishing Danny Green the best. Maybe he'll actually get his championship rings at some point. Like, he never got his Raptors ring because the Lakers Raptors game was scheduled in like late March, and obviously that got canceled because of the pandemic. So he never got his giant Raptors ring. And now he's being traded from the Lakers. So he won't even have his Lakers ring. When is this guy going to get his rings? I don't know. Just a very interesting little nugget in all of this nonsense. Let me refresh my Twitter feed here real quick to see if we have any free agency updates or if any eager Detroit Piston fans have messaged me. um Not seeing anything just yet. Let me give you a bit of a Raptors update here. So Fred Van Vliet is scheduled to meet with several teams. I don't know how many teams, but several teams in Chicago on Saturday. So we won't have that update tonight on the podcast, as well as Sergi Baca has allegedly uh having a bidding war at the moment. Woj reported that there are 10 teams. 10. Oh no, sorry. Sportsnet, Michael Grange reported that up to 10 teams are going after Serge Ibaka right now. So, we will see. As of right now, Christian Wood is still in talks with several teams, so we don't know where he is going just yet. I'll keep refreshing this feed. It's so funny because I scheduled the show. I'm like, let's do Fridays at 9 because that way we'll be able to recap the week. There's usually not a ton of breaking news on a Friday at 9, but here we are. So I don't have any of those reports just yet. Let me refresh NBA.com to see if there's anything else here. Goran Dragic signed a 2-year deal with the Miami Heat. So that's cool. They really seem like they're trying to re-up with this exact team and go for it a second time. I mean, look, the Miami Heat impressed everybody. I'm the first to admit I absolutely slept on the Miami Heat. And they also re-signed Myers Leonard. So yeah, they're full on with the exact same team they had before. I think this is good, but also like I don't know. I mean, look, we all know by the time they got to the finals, they were absolutely gassed. Completely gassed. And the Eastern Conference this year was weak as hell. I'm sorry, but they were weak as hell. Like the 2019 Toronto Raptors were more talented than any team that competed in the 2020 Eastern Conference playoffs. Absolutely. So I feel like the Miami Heat, although they are good, I do think they're being a little naive. Again, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I did sleep on them last year, but by November, December, I last year I was like, "Oh no, this team is for real." So I didn't sleep on them forever, but I slept on them going into last season, I think is fair to say. Um I would have liked to seen them get some more offense just to take a bit of pressure off of Jimmy Butler. Um but maybe, I have a feeling that they're trying to be in the Giannis race. So Giannis is obviously a free agent in 2021, and a lot of teams, including the Raptors, are trying to free up some space. So they can sign him. And I think Miami wants to be in that running. I was kind of hoping that because they were in the finals and that they had exceeded expectations, that they might actually convince themselves or talk themselves out of needing to be in the Giannis conversation. But I don't think that's actually happening, which is on me. Which is on me. Um, okay, let's do another refresh real quick here. It's so funny. Usually I never have to do this while recording a show, but tonight is a very strange night. I mean, just having the draft and free agency in the same week has literally never happened. And I'm also kind of surprised that there's so much undecided or so much uncertainty with this free agency because normally free agency starts July 1st. And and I feel like all these teams and all these guys have had so many extra months to really think this over. And I'm just reading that Marcus Saul has emerged as a free agent target for the Lakers to fill the void created by Dwight Howard's departure. Mark Stein just tweeted that. Wow, that is interesting. That is very interesting. Look, I love Marcus Saul. Love Marcus Saul. But if we as Raptors fans, if we lose Marcus Saul, I'm okay. I'm okay. Because Marcus Saul is absolutely, and this is no disrespect at all, at the end of his NBA career. He's completely at the end. He is I love him, but it is done. It is done. He injured his hamstring twice last season. Same hamstring, re-injured it. Then he went through tons of rehabilitation, lost weight, did all of this work, and still struggled in the bubble. And we all saw him fucking shave his head and tear his jersey, and had to dig deep into the depths of his soul and pray to every god known to man to score like 16 points in a double overtime game 6 against the Celtics. But I mean, man, he did not have it. He didn't have it. His passing is great. He's still a very solid defender. What I found on the my mom just messaged me and asked, "Can I talk?" And I'm like, literally riding this show solo right now because my guest can't log in. So that's unless you want to be on the show, mom. I can't. Sorry, that was very distracting. And I only have my phone here to see if I can get anyone else to join me on the show. I digress. I digress. Where was I? Gasol. He lost it, man. There were all these reports in October that he was going to Barcelona. All these reports, and then suddenly everybody was like, "Oh wait, no, actually he's not going to Barcelona. We're not really sure." It was pretty sketchy, actually. It was very weird. Very, very weird. Um okay, I'm doing another refresh, and then I want to talk about Bogdanovich because that shit was really weird. Um okay. People are just sharing a lot of Marcus All memories right now. I'm not seeing anything new from Woj. I'm not seeing anything new from Shams. Okay, this is a very interesting, very weird story. So Bogdanovich from the Kings had negotiated a sign and trade to the Milwaukee Bucks. What's the problem, you ask? Well, they reported it days before free agency, which is tampering. And you can't do that. Free agency starts at a date and a time for a reason. And so suddenly, both teams and Bogdanovich had to backpedal and be like, "What? I didn't want to do this." And it's honestly highly embarrassing. There's no other way to put it. I mean, it's like I worked at a company 10 years ago. I won't say the name of the company, but we were merging with another company. Remember when we were going through a financial crisis and that was the biggest news in the world, not a worldwide pandemic? Oh, the good old days. So we were merging with another company, and the head of HR was composing an email about it. Composing an email. And she accidentally pressed send and sent it company wide before it was ready. Everybody found out, stakeholders found out, and after 11 years at the company, she was immediately fired. And I have never composed an email with the email address in there since. I write the email, double check it, triple check it, and then I put in the email address and then I send. And that's what this feels like to me. That is absolutely what this feels like to me. And but it's the NBA, so no one gets fired. Nobody gets fired. These guys are worth millions. They don't care. Look, I feel like the tampering rules. Sorry, my mic just kind of adjusted. There we go. The tampering rules in the NBA, frankly, are a bit of a joke. Um, in a regular year, when free agency starts July 1st, you hear about these deals happening at 12:01 a.m. on July 1st. Obviously, that's pre-negotiated. You know what I mean? You've got Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant on the same team. They both talked about it during the 2016 Olympics. So Kevin Durant signed with the Golden State Warriors on July 1st, 2016, and then later that summer negotiated with Kyrie Irving that the two of them would play together 3 years from then. I mean, that's wild. And then it's like you have these tampering rules. You have Doc Rivers being fined $50,000 because he said Kawhi Leonard's a great player. And these guys are negotiating years in advance. So I think the NBA just needs to get real with itself about what tampering is, what actually happens in the league and what doesn't, and figure out what the rules should be and figure out something that actually works. I mean, it's like weed being illegal. You know what I mean? Like it's just come on. Everybody's doing it, not me. But a lot of people are, and it just made more sense to make it legal. I think I think there should still be tampering rules, but they really need to reevaluate what those are because this is getting sloppy. This is getting sloppy. Let's put it that way. And let's do another refresh. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's probably crazy to listen to a show solo. This was a podcast before we premiered on the Bard Burner Network tonight. I did show solo throughout the entire NBA bubble. Although they weren't live, um, I was doing them solo because, frankly, I was too intimidated to learn how to record a Zoom call. Turns out it's crazy easy. I just got anxious about it from a podcasting perspective. I've been a guest on other podcasts where they're like, "Hey, can you record your audio and then send it to me and then we're going to edit and sync it up?" And I thought it was going to be way harder. And then in the last, month or so, just during this off season, I've been able to bring guests onto the show. Now we're on the Barn Burner Network. So this is kind of wild. This is my first time ever live, and then there's just so much breaking news happening at the same time, but I'm having a great time. Oh, my friend Chrissy, thanks Chrissy, hi. She took a photo of me on the air, literally in my bedroom closet. This is great. Let's see what Woj is doing real quick, and then maybe I'll have time to discuss the draft. Although last week on my podcast, I went on a massive rant about how much I don't like the draft, how much I think the NCAA is completely corrupt, and I think so many young players should play in Europe or Australia and completely skip the whole NCAA BS so they're not being exploited. So you can find that rant on the Buckets and Tea NBA podcast on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get podcasts. Um, okay, the Washington Wizards made a deal for Anthony Gill. I'm trying to see if there's any big explosive stuff. Adrian's just saying Dwayne Casey could be an ideal coach for Jackson as he tries to gather traction in his career. He was raised in Detroit. Love Dwayne Casey. Again, have no idea what the hell's happening with Detroit, but that's nice, I guess. That Dwayne Casey's gonna have people that he likes coaching. Um, Look, I thought the NBA draft was extremely well executed. It was very emotional. I felt I was at one point I was just like, am I watching the NBA draft or am I watching an episode of This Is Us? I was just crying every 15 minutes. Um, there was something about having everybody in their home with their closest family and friends that made the whole thing feel more intimate to me in a way that I actually kind of liked. um I mean, I'm not going to root for it over the in-person draft just because I want all of us to be able to get together again as a whole, as a society. I don't want to be in this state. Like, I want to be in a studio talking to you, okay, and not in my bedroom closet because it's the best place for sound and it's a walk-in and it has a built-in desk. Okay, so when I say I'm in a closet, I'm actually in a very nice space, all things considered. But I'd rather be in a nice studio with another person in front of me and people around me. We all miss people, but there was something about the virtual draft that I found very touching. Um, in terms of the picks, I don't have a ton of opinions in terms of who picked who and was this a good decision and was this not a good decision. I will say, I thought there was going to be a lot of trades and a lot of movement in that draft, and there wasn't. And I was like, this, if anything, is the indication that nobody thought any of these guys were particularly special. And that is very cruel of me to say, but it's true. If you think about it, nobody felt the urgency to climb up the board to get to a particular player. Nobody was like, I have to have this guy. I have to have that guy. We didn't see any of that action this year. Any of it. Um, so to me, this just feels like a draft with some role players and some potential all-star. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know. I think this draft was weird and it was hard to predict. And there's been a lot of LaMelo Ball talk. I mean, he's already a celebrity, and that's why I think he's a good fit for Charlotte, because Charlotte needs somebody and something to be excited about. And they're going to get more national attention than they've had in the past. And I mean, frankly, the bar is just that low for them. So I think that's good. I do think Wiseman is good for the Golden State Warriors. There was a lot of talk about, like, are they going to suddenly try to get LaMelo or get a guard instead in light of the Klay Thompson injury? There's theories that they should have done that because it's easier to get a center through trades or free agency. um I don't know. I mean, things were so uncertain Wednesday evening. I think it would have been hasty to throw months and months and months of work out the door because of Klay Thompson. Plus they like need a center. Like, they need, like, if they are serious about being a title contender at all, they need a center. They need a big that could possibly potentially defend Anthony Davis. I have no idea if Wiseman's that guy or not, but it's like, you need to fill that void regardless. And now you can look to trade for another two guard. I mean, maybe in hindsight, they regret the D'Angelo Russell trade. That's one thing I haven't heard people talk about. Do they regret trading D'Angelo Russell for Andrew Wiggins? Because they're thinking we're not going to do well this year because Clay and Steph were injured. We're just going to read this up next year. And Andrew Wiggins is somebody that we can bring into our mold, our culture, and turn him into a solid backup point. But now they need the offense. Like, they need D'Angelo Russell's offense. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, so I'm not saying they should actually regret it, but I'm just saying I bet there's a part of them that's like, mm, I wish I didn't do that. You know? Let's do another refresh. Let's see if we can get any more updates here. Nothing on Woj's feed. Hmm. Trey Burke is returning to the Dallas Mavericks. I thought the Dallas Mavericks would have been more active. I gotta say, um, More active how? I'm not entirely sure. I mean, they did make that small trade for what's his name? They traded away, I don't have it in front of me, Seth Curry for, oh god, this is why it's great to have a guest. I'm going to Google his name. In the meantime, one other thing I wanted to talk about. Let's use this as a time to officially move it. Oh, Josh Richardson. See, I knew it. That was the one trade they made. I think this trade is actually good for both teams. I think both teams are going to benefit from this. But again, I thought maybe Dallas would have been more active. We'll see if Luka's going to be MVP. My bet, I'm betting Kevin Durant. I'm betting Kevin Durant for MVP this season, but I know a lot of people have Luka on their minds. But with that being said, let's use this time to move into our Raptors Homer moment. Finally, let's get into this because the Toronto Raptors are officially playing in Tampa, Florida. It makes sense. It makes sense. I'm not against it at all. Things are weird. Um as much as I was hoping for them to be able to play in Canada, it would have been so highly elitist to allow the Toronto Raptors and the NBA and literally no one else to consistently cross our borders. I mean, it was just too much of an ask. And I do believe Masai Ujiri did an excellent job playing politician on this one. And excuse me, did an excellent job being a politician, trying to make a case for the Raptors and make a case for the NBA. He talked about how responsible the NBA has been, how we were the first to shut down, which is absolutely true. The NBA was absolutely the first organization in the world to shut down before anybody else. Okay, I don't know about in the world, but certainly in North America. And how much they care and how careful they would be. But it's just not enough. I mean, it, again, I think there would have been a massive outcry just from Canadian citizens just being like, what the hell are you doing? But valiant effort on their part. I was thinking that maybe they would play in Newark, the old New Jersey Nets stadium. And I was thinking that mainly for logistic reasons, because that way there's less travel. You've got the Knicks and the Bucks right there. The Wizards aren't far away. The 76ers aren't far away. And you would be limiting the amount of flights that you would need. And that would be better from a health risk perspective. But I guess the Raptors were like, look, if we can't play in Toronto, let's at least go somewhere warm. And even Fred Van Vliet, when he was on the JJ Redick podcast, said, I want to play in Tampa. So I think that the Raptors were just like, look, if we can't play here, we better play in Tampa. So Fred's happy, and that will increase our chances of signing him because Toronto's not a cold team anymore. And at least for this year. And we'll see where that goes. So I mean, part of me is like, I just feel bad for them as people because they already had to relocate for the NBA bubble, and now they have to relocate again. And I can imagine that this is really hard on their families. And so, but at the same time, let's face it, they're rich. They have a great life. Um, I think too, even like with schools, like a part of me was like, oh my God, like these kids are gonna have to transfer to a new school and it's in Florida. But then I was like, everything's virtual now. Feel like these kids could go to school virtually. Um, so they wouldn't be taken out of their classes exactly. They'll still be able to see their friends virtually. They'll be in nice weather. They can make their friends, their Toronto friends, jealous, that they're by the sun and by the beach and they're not. So the more I think about it, the more I think it'll be okay. This is something I've been freaking out about for a while. But now I've accepted this fact a bit more. Um I say I'm freaking out as if like I also have to relocate, you know? But really for them, I just think like I just feel bad for them and their families having to be displaced like this twice in a single year. But look, this year hasn't been kind or fair to anybody, and nobody's an exception to that. And this is tough for the Raptors, but I'm glad that they are at least in a city where they want to be, because all the talk of all the other cities was really starting to piss me off. Like, people were like, "Oh, they should come to Seattle. Obviously, it has to be Seattle. That's where we all want a team." And it's like, it's not about you. And it's not about Seattle. And if Seattle, if you want an NBA team again so much, get your shit together and figure that out. That is a thing to make a change.org petition about. Seattle. Shout out if you're from Seattle watching tonight. Do a change.org petition. Get people to sign. Let the city know your interest. Nashville, same thing. Louisville, same thing. Although Louisville, I'm sorry, you have other issues because of Breonna Taylor. I'm sorry, but I'm glad the Raptors were like, obviously that would be a bad look if we pick Louisville. Just saying. Oh my gosh. We've got 5 minutes left to the show. Let's see if Woj has dropped any other bombs on us. Uh what a wild night. Oh, Montrezl Harrell has agreed to a 2-year deal to the Lakers. What? Oh my God, Rich Paul's his agent. Get out of here. Well, hey, I think that might end the Gasol talk if they just got Montrezl Harrell to replace Dwight Howard. Look, this is great for the Lakers. This is absolutely great for the Lakers because although Dwight had nice moments for them, he also had really erratic moments where he was just being a full on bully on the court. Like, do you remember that in that Nuggets series? He was just like an absolute bully against Jokic. And it was like, what is this guy doing? Like, he looks like a literal school ground bully, schoolyard bully, going after this kid's lunch money. And I'm like, am I actually watching this right now? Just madness. So I think they low key were very like, we got to get rid of Dwight. Dwight's weird. He and now they've got Montrezl Harrell and few years younger. Although Montrezl Harrell had some weak moments during the playoffs as well, I do like this move overall. And of course, Rich Paul, Clutch Sports being his agent, that's obviously LeBron James's BFF, and I almost said their agency, although LeBron James is not technically an agent. They very much work together. LeBron James is notoriously a low key GM, so that does not surprise me. Um, I just feel like the Lakers are eventually just going to be a full on Rich Paul team, and like nobody else will be from any other agency. And that's just like their goal in life. And like, even though they might not be like actual part owners of the Lakers, they're just like very low key taking over. That's the only other free agency update I have. Like I said, Serge Ibaka bidding war with 10 teams. I am so curious to see what's going to happen to him. I was very in hindsight naively confident that Serge was going to stay. I mean, I know he loves Toronto, but I mean, 10 offers and people are bidding after you. You got to listen. If Serge Ibaka left, I would be very sad, but not an ounce of anger at all. I would just be so happy for him. Just so happy for him. Um, oh, I'm just looking at some other updates now. Oh, so the Bogdanovich trade to the Bucks has gone through now. Um, that's interesting. Thank you. To our producer for sending me that update. That's wild. Again, once you're in that multimillionaire category in life, there's no punishment for you. You're not getting fired. It's just life. Life just goes on. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left in this show. We're wrapping up here. We're finding out about Fred Van Vliet tomorrow. Um, like I said last week on my podcast, I have the Fred Van Vliet Roots boots. If he doesn't sign with us, I'm getting rid of them. So give me your boot recommendations if he leaves us. Again, I want to thank you all for tuning in to our first ever live show. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at it's me underscore Catherine. I've just spoken to you for 55 minutes straight. This has been fantastic. Thank you to the Barn Burner Network for having me and for having this very unorthodox debut. I will be back next Friday and every Friday here live at 9 with a real life guest. And we will be going through the rest of free agency and all the other NBA madness. Thank you again. You can subscribe to the podcast of this show, which is out every Monday on Spotify and iTunes. If you're on iTunes, you can rate it 5 stars and follow us on Spotify. Thank you so much. Remember to follow the Barn Burner Network as well, and we'll see you next